The halls of the Intergalactic Academy of Xenobiology buzzed with excited chatter. Students from over 30 species hurried to their classes, their different bodies moving in ways unique to their homeworlds. Some floated, others crawled, and many walked on various numbers of legs. Today was special. Today, the new human professor would give his first lecture. Klivak adjusted his vision membranes, all 6 of his eyes blinking in sequence as he took a seat near the front of the lecture hall. His blue skin rippled with excitement. Next to him, Sholpaz settled her crystalline form carefully on a specially designed chair, the light reflecting off her faceted body in rainbow patterns. "Do you think it's true what they say about humans?" Sholpaz asked, her voice making a sound like wind chimes. Klivak tilted his head. "Which part? That they're soft and squishy? That's definitely true." "No," said Sholpaz. "That they're the most dangerous predators in the galaxy." From behind them came a swirl of green gas that formed itself into a rough shape, with 2 darker spots serving as eyes. "That can't be true," said Mutep, the gaseous Betelgeusian. "They have no natural weapons. No claws, weak teeth, thin skin. My research says a human child can be killed by simply falling down." "And yet," said Klivak, "they've never lost a war against a first-contact aggressor. Not once." The room fell, silent as the door opened. A human male walked in. He looked ordinary by human standards, about 6 feet tall with short brown hair, light skin, and a friendly smile. He wore the standard academy teaching uniform with a small earth patch on the shoulder. Nothing about him suggested danger. "Good morning, everyone," he said, placing his teaching tablet on the desk. "I'm Dr. Alan Miller, your new professor of comparative xenobiology with a focus on human studies. I've just arrived from Earth last week, so I'm still adjusting to the gravity here. If I seem a bit wobbly, that's why." The students watched him carefully. Some had never seen a human in person before. "Before we begin," Dr. Miller continued, "I'd like to take questions. I know humans are still relatively new to the galactic community, and there must be things you're curious about." Several appendages, tentacles, and light signals rose around the room. Dr. Miller pointed to a purple tentacled student in the back. "Is it true that humans drink poison for enjoyment?" the student asked. Dr. Miller laughed. "If you mean alcohol, then yes. Many humans drink substances that are mildly toxic to our systems because they produce pleasant sensations. Our livers can process these toxins in small amounts." He answered several more questions about human food, sleep habits, and reproduction, before Klivak raised 3 of his arms. "Yes, the Arcturian in the front," Dr. Miller said. Klivak's skin darkened slightly, the equivalent of a human blush. "Professor, is it true that humans are the only species in the galaxy with military kill limits?" The room went completely silent. Even the normally fluttering moth people from Epsilon Indi became still. Dr. Miller's friendly expression changed. His eyes seemed to look somewhere far away, and his mouth formed a thin line. "That's a complex question," he said finally, "and not what I expected for my first day." He took a deep breath. "But yes, as far as we know, humans are the only species that must remove soldiers from combat after they've killed a certain number of enemies." "But why?" pressed Klivak. "Is it because humans become ineffective after this limit? Do your combat abilities decrease?" Dr. Miller walked around to the front of his desk and leaned against it. "No. That's the common misconception. In fact, human soldiers often become more tactically efficient as they gain combat experience." He looked around the room. The kill limit exists to protect the human mind from itself. Mutep's gaseous form pulsed with confusion. "I don't understand. If a soldier is performing well, why remove them?" "Because," Dr. Miller said quietly, "humans have the unique ability to keep functioning as effective killers long after our minds begin to break." He tapped his tablet, and a holographic image appeared showing a human brain. "This is actually what our entire course will explore this semester. The psychological cost of violence on the human mind." Sholpaz's crystalline form vibrated with distress. Her species was fundamentally non-violent. "But Professor, my research indicates that humans often engage in recreational combat simulations. Your entertainment is full of violence. How does this align with your claim about psychological damage? An excellent observation, Dr. Miller said. Humans have a complicated relationship with violence. We're drawn to it and repelled by it simultaneously. We create art about it, we prepare for it, and we suffer from it. He touched his tablet again, and the brain image was replaced by footage of human children playing a game with toy weapons. From childhood, we practice the skills of war while hoping we never need them, Dr. Miller explained. It's something unique to our evolutionary path. We evolved as persistence predators with complex social structures. We can chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion, but we also form deep bonds with our family groups. Klivak watched the human children with fascination. So these small humans are practicing killing? They're playing, corrected Dr. Miller. Learning coordination, teamwork strategy. Similar behaviors are seen in many predator species young. He switched the display to show adult humans in a combat zone, moving with purpose, weapons raised. This is different, this is actual combat. The alien students watched the footage with various expressions of horror and fascination. What you're seeing, Dr. Miller continued, are humans who have been trained to overcome their natural resistance to killing members of their own species. Every healthy human is born with strong inhibitions against killing other humans. Our military training is largely about reducing those inhibitions. Then why have them at all, asked Mutep. Why not select humans without these inhibitions? Dr. Miller's expression darkened. We call those humans psychopaths, and they make poor soldiers because they cannot form the necessary bonds of loyalty with their team. No, we need normal humans, who can both kill when necessary and stop when necessary. He switched off the hologram. The kill limit exists because we discovered something terrible during our history of warfare. Humans can compartmentalize violence. We can keep killing far, past the point where it damages our minds. We remain efficient at dealing death even as our ability to feel empathy, joy, or connection fractures. The room was completely silent now. Even the usual ambient sounds of different species' biological functions seemed muted. That will be all for today, Dr. Miller said. Our next class will begin our formal study of human combat psychology. I suggest you review the materials on human evolution and basic neurochemistry before then. As the students filed out, Klivak, Sholpaz, and Mutep lingered, watching Dr. Miller gather his things. Professor, Klivak said, I apologize if my question upset you. Dr. Miller looked up and smiled, but his eyes still held something distant. Not at all. It's why I'm here, to help other species understand humans better, but also to help humans understand ourselves. He picked up his tablet. Tell me, have any of you met the human gardener who works on the academy grounds? Jerry? Asked Sholpaz. The quiet one who tends the earth plants in the botanical section? Yes, said Dr. Miller. Jerry Cooper. Before he was a gardener, he was a soldier. He reached his kill limit during the Neptune defense. He looked at each of them in turn. If you're truly interested in this subject, you might want to talk to him someday. Not now, he doesn't like to discuss it with strangers. But someday. As the professor left, the three alien students looked at each other, each wondering what other surprises these strange, soft, dangerous humans might have in store. The next class with Dr. Miller started with the lights dimmed and a large holographic display hovering at the front of the room. The alien students settled into their seats, whispering among themselves about what they might see today. Klivak noticed that several species who normally skipped lectures had shown up. Word had spread about the human professor's first class and his willingness to discuss topics most instructors avoided. Today, Dr. Miller said as he entered the room, we begin our study of human combat psychology with some historical context. He tapped his tablet, and the large display filled with an image of a human in a dusty uniform, crouched behind a broken wall. The human held a weapon and had a 1,000-yard stare that seemed to look through the camera. This is Sergeant Frank Hayes, Earth Alliance Marines during the Mars Colony Rebellion 15 years ago. Dr. Miller explained. What you're about to see is classified footage that has been cleared for educational purposes only. The video began to play. The image shook as it followed Sergeant Hayes moving through ruined buildings. The sounds of weapons fire and explosions came through clearly. Several alien students shifted uncomfortably. Sergeant Hayes was escorting a group of civilian refugees when they were ambushed by rebel forces, Dr. Miller narrated. The civilians included 23 children. The video showed rebels firing at a group of humans hiding in a collapsed structure. Children were crying. Parents were trying to shield them with their bodies. Then Sergeant Hayes moved. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the human soldier flowed through the battlefield like water. He moved with a grace and purpose that seemed impossible for a species that had evolved on a high-gravity world. He eliminated one threat, then another, then another. By this point, Dr. Miller said, his voice quiet, Hayes had already reached what would normally be his kill limit. Standard protocol would require him to stand down and hand command to another soldier. But there was no one else? Asked Mutep, his gaseous form contracted in distress. No one else, confirmed Dr. Miller. He was the only soldier present. The rest of his squad had been killed earlier. The video continued. Hayes moved from position to position, drawing fire away from the civilians, eliminating threats with terrifying efficiency. He was wounded twice but kept moving. In total, Sergeant Hayes eliminated 37 armed insurgents over a period of 4 hours, protecting those civilians until evacuation arrived, Dr. Miller said as he stopped the video. He then voluntarily surrendered his weapons and requested psychological evaluation. The classroom was completely silent, but Sholpaz's crystalline form vibrated in confusion. He was successful. He saved the civilians. Why would he need evaluation? Dr. Miller smiled sadly, because he knew what the rest of you are only beginning to understand. The cost of violence isn't measured in physical wounds. He tapped his tablet again, and a new figure appeared on the screen. A human female with short gray hair and kind eyes. This is Dr. Lisa Bennett, the military psychologist who developed our current kill limit protocols. She's agreed to speak with us today. The woman on the screen smiled and waved. Hello, students. I understand you're studying human combat psychology. I'm happy to answer your questions. Klivak raised 3 of his arms immediately. Dr. Bennett, why don't other species need kill limits? Is there something wrong with humans? Dr. Bennett chuckled. That's a complex question. There's nothing wrong with humans, but we are different. Most sapient species evolved from herd animals or solitary hunters. Humans evolved as tribal persistence predators. We hunted in groups, tracking prey, for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. But that doesn't explain the psychological damage, Sholpaz said. Her people were fundamentally non-violent and she struggled to understand. It's the combination of our predatory instincts and our social bonds, Dr. Bennett explained. Humans can compartmentalize violence. We can shut down our empathy temporarily to do what needs to be done. But we're not meant to stay in that state. When we do, the mind begins to fracture. Like Sergeant Hayes? Asked Mutep. Yes, Dr. Bennett nodded. Frank is actually a good friend of mine now. I worked with him after the Mars incident. He suffered from severe post-traumatic stress. He had nightmares, flashbacks, trouble connecting with other humans. But he recovered. He's a teacher now, working with children. The alien student seemed amazed by this. Recovery from such violence seemed impossible to many of their species. Dr. Bennett, Dr. Miller interjected, could you explain what happens to a human who exceeds their kill limit without proper psychological support? Dr. Bennett's expression grew serious. Without support, a human can experience a psychological break. They might become unable to turn off their combat responses. Some become dangerous to those around them. Others turn their violence inward. She paused. In the worst cases, they lose their sense of self entirely, becoming killing machines with no purpose beyond violence. Klivak's skin turned a paler blue. That's why you monitor them? To prevent this? Yes, Dr. Bennett said. The kill limit isn't about preventing soldiers from fighting. It's about making sure they can come home afterward, not just physically but mentally. After more questions, Dr. Bennett signed off, and Dr. Miller addressed the class again. For your next assignment, you'll be divided into research teams. Each team will study a different aspect of human combat psychology. He assigned the groups. Klivak would analyze historical battle footage. Sholpaz would study psychological evaluation protocols. Mutep would research neurochemical responses in human veterans. One more thing, Dr. Miller said as the class prepared to leave. I mentioned Jerry Cooper, the gardener. He's agreed to speak with interested students about his experiences, but only in small groups and only if you approach him respectfully. After class, Klivak, Sholpaz, and Mutep walked together toward the botanical gardens. Are we really going to talk to him? Sholpaz asked, light refracting nervously through her crystalline body. I am, said Klivak. How can we understand if we don't speak to someone who has lived it? They found Jerry Cooper tending to a small patch of plants with red flowers. He was a stocky human with weathered skin and strong hands that moved gently among the delicate stems. He looked up as they approached. You're Dr. Miller's students, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes, said Klivak. He said you might be willing to speak with us. Jerry nodded and gestured to a bench nearby. I have some rules. I won't talk about specific people I've killed. I won't describe what it feels like to take a life. And if I say we're done, we're done. Understood? The three aliens agreed. Good, said Jerry. Then ask your questions. The Neptune defense, Mutep began hesitantly. Dr. Miller said you reached your kill limit during that conflict. Jerry's face remained neutral, but his eyes took on the same distant look they had seen in Sergeant Hayes's eyes in the video. I did, he said simply. 32 confirmed. I was a gunner on the orbital defense platform. Pirates were targeting a civilian transport. I did what needed to be done. And then? Prompted Sholpaz. And then I put down my weapon and called my commanding officer. Jerry looked at each of them. Because I knew what would happen if I didn't. What would happen? Asked Klivak. Jerry. Cooper looked out at the garden, at the peaceful plants he now tended. I would have lost myself, he said quietly. And the people I was fighting to protect would have lost me too. The aliens were silent, beginning to understand that for humans, the line between warrior and monster was thinner than any of them had imagined. Over the next few weeks, Klivak, Sholpaz, and Mutep devoted themselves to their research projects. Each day brought new discoveries about humans and their strange relationship with violence. Klivak spent hours in the Academy's archive room, watching battle footage from Earth's many wars. His 6 eyes would sometimes blink out of sync when he saw particularly troubling scenes, but he kept watching, determined to understand. One evening, as the Academy's artificial sun was setting, Klivak met his friends in their usual study area. Sholpaz's crystalline form glowed softly in the dimming light, and Mutep's gaseous body was more condensed than usual, a sign of deep thought among his species. I found something interesting today, Klivak said, placing his data tablet on the table. Humans have a concept called battle trance, a state where they become completely focused on combat to the exclusion of all else. That matches my neurochemical findings, Mutep replied. When humans fight, their brains release substances that reduce pain, increase strength, and sharpen focus. But these same chemicals can become addictive if present too long. Sholpaz's crystalline body vibrated gently. The psychological evaluations I studied show that humans need to process violence by talking about it. They must reconnect with their empathy after shutting it down. If they don't, her voice trailed off, sounding like sad wind chimes. They become lost, finished Klivak. Like Jerry said, the three fell silent, each thinking about their conversations with the human gardener. Over several meetings, Jerry had shared more about his experiences during the Neptune defense. He never described killing in detail, but he spoke about the aftermath, the nightmares, the guilt, the long path back to feeling normal. What's most surprising, said Mutep, is that humans keep fighting at all. If they know the damage it causes, why do they volunteer for military service? None of them had an answer. The next day in class, Dr. Miller introduced a new topic. So far, we've focused on the negative aspects of human combat psychology, he said. Today, we'll discuss something different, how humans recover. He displayed Images of human veterans in various settings, some in therapy sessions, others in groups with other veterans, some working with animals or in gardens. Humans are remarkably resilient, Dr. Miller explained. With proper support, even those who've experienced extreme combat can heal and reintegrate into society. He showed videos of psychological treatment sessions, with the faces blurred for privacy. The students watched as humans talked through their experiences, sometimes crying, sometimes laughing, always processing. This is why the kill limit exists, Dr. Miller said. Not because humans become ineffective fighters after a certain point, but because we need time to process what we've done before the damage becomes permanent. After class, Dr. Miller asked Klivak, Sholpaz, and Mutep to stay behind. Your research projects are going well, he said. But I think it's time for you to witness something important. Jerry Cooper has agreed to let you observe one of his therapy sessions. It's scheduled for tomorrow. The students were surprised. Jerry had been open with them, but therapy was deeply personal. Why would he allow this? Asked Sholpaz. Because he believes in what we're doing here, Dr. Miller replied. He wants other species to understand humans better, to prevent conflicts based on misunderstandings. The next day, the 3 alien students sat quietly in an observation room, watching through a one-way window as Jerry Cooper met with his therapist, Dr. Susan Wright. How have you been sleeping, Jerry? Dr. Wright asked. Better, Jerry replied. I had one nightmare this week, but I used the grounding techniques we practiced. It helped. Good. And the gardening? Jerry smiled slightly. The earth roses are blooming. The alien students seem fascinated by them. Plants that evolved to have thorns are strange to them. Dr. Wright nodded. Beauty and protection in one package, not unlike humans. The session continued, with Jerry talking about his feelings, his progress, and his occasional setbacks. He spoke about the Neptune defense briefly, sharing a memory that had surfaced recently. I remember the moment I decided to stop, he said quietly. I'd just taken out the last pirate ship threatening the transport. There was another pirate vessel in range, but it was retreating. I had the shot. I could have taken it. But you didn't, Dr. Wright said. No. I looked at my kill counter, saw I was at 32, and thought about my sister's wedding that was coming up in a month. I wanted to dance at that wedding. I wanted to feel joy again. Jerry's eyes grew distant. So I called it in and took myself off the guns. Watching from the observation room, Sholpaz's crystalline form vibrated with emotion. He gave up a kill to save himself, she whispered. No, Klivak corrected. He gave up a kill to save his humanity. After the session ended, they met with Jerry in a small conference room. He looked tired, but at peace. Thank you for letting us observe, Mutep said, his gaseous form swirling respectfully. Jerry nodded. Did it help you understand? I think so, said Klivak. But I still have a question. If combat causes such damage, why do humans keep fighting? Jerry was quiet for a moment, then said, Have you studied Earth's history? The aliens nodded. Then, you know we've fought each other for most of our existence, Jerry continued. But what you might not realize is that we've also protected each other just as long. The same instinct that makes us dangerous is the one that makes us care so deeply. He looked at each of them. I reached my kill limit protecting a ship full of civilians I never met. I didn't do it for glory or because I enjoy killing. I did it because those people needed protection, and I could provide it. Even at great cost to yourself, said Sholpaz. Yes, Jerry agreed. But that's what makes us human. As they left the session, Dr. Miller was waiting outside. What did you learn today? He asked. The 3 students looked at each other. Then, Klivak spoke. That humans aren't limited by their capacity for violence. They're limited by their determination to remain compassionate despite it. Dr. Miller smiled. Exactly. Now you're beginning to understand. That night, the 3 friends stayed late in the academy library, comparing notes and discussing what they had learned. My people would never understand this, Sholpaz said. Violence of any kind is so foreign to us. Mine either, said Mutep. We solve conflicts through chemical negotiations. But that's why this research is important, Klivak replied. If we don't understand humans, we might fear them unnecessarily or, worse, provoke them without realizing the consequences. Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm blaring throughout the academy. Red emergency lights began flashing in the corridors. What's happening? Sholpaz asked, her crystalline form flashing with anxiety. A voice came over the academy's communication system. Attention all personnel. This is not a drill. Pirates have attacked Research Outpost 7. All security forces report to your stations. All civilians seek shelter immediately. The three students looked at each other in shock. Their theoretical studies were about to become very real. Chaos erupted throughout the academy. Students from various species moved in all directions, some seeking shelter as instructed, others trying to find friends or mentors. Security personnel, mostly consisting of Rigelian guards and Arcturian, tactical officers rushed toward the deployment area. Klivak, Sholpaz, and Mutep huddled in a corner of the library, unsure what to do. Research Outpost 7, Mutep said, his gaseous form contracting with worry. That's where they study ancient technology, only 2 light minutes away from the academy. There are 12 researchers stationed there, added Sholpaz light, pulsing anxiously through her crystalline form. Most of them are Centaurians. They have no natural defenses. The academy's communication system crackled again. Update on the emergency situation. Pirates have taken control of Research Outpost 7. All researchers are being held hostage. Security forces are preparing a response. Klivak's blue skin paled. We should get to a shelter. They moved through the corridors, following emergency directions to the nearest safe zone. As they passed the main security office, they noticed a crowd gathering. Dr. Miller was there, speaking urgently with the academy's security chief, a tall Arcturian named Commander Zolar. They're jamming all long-range communications, Zolar was saying. The nearest military response is 4 hours away. By then, the pirates will have stripped the outpost of all valuable technology and probably killed the hostages. Dr. Miller finished grimly. My security team is preparing to respond, but I must be honest. We are trained for academy protection, not assault operations against armed pirates, Zolar admitted. Klivak and his friends moved closer, curious, despite the danger. How many pirates? Dr. Miller asked. Sensors detected 3 small ships. We estimate 20 to 30 individuals, heavily armed. Dr. Miller was quiet for a moment, then said, I was a combat medic before I became a professor. I've seen action in 4 conflicts. Commander Zolar's multiple eyes blinked in surprise. You're offering to help? Yes, and there's someone else who might be willing. Dr. Miller looked around and spotted the 3 alien students. You 3, do you know where to find Jerry? Minutes later, they were hurrying toward the botanical gardens. They found Jerry pruning trees, seemingly unaware of the emergency. Jerry, Dr. Miller called. The academy needs your help. Jerry looked up, his gardening shears pausing mid-cut. I heard the alarms. Pirates? Dr. Miller nodded and quickly explained the situation. Jerry listened silently, his face becoming more serious with each word. How many security personnel does the academy have? Jerry asked. 12 trained officers, Dr. Miller replied. But they've never faced anything like this. Jerry put down his tools carefully. And you want me to help? Only if you're willing. I know what it could mean for you. Jerry was quiet for a long moment. The 3 alien students watched him, remembering everything they had learned about kill limits and the psychological cost of combat. There are innocent researchers in danger, Jerry finally said. What kind of weapons do we have? 20 minutes. Later, Jerry and Dr. Miller stood in the academy's small armory with Commander Zolar. The available weapons were limited, mostly non-lethal devices designed for campus security. These won't be enough against pirates, Jerry said, examining a stun baton. Commander Zolar looked troubled. We have some projectile weapons in storage, but they're antiques from various worlds, kept for historical study. Show me, Jerry said. The commander led them to a secure room where weapons from a dozen worlds were displayed in cases. Jerry walked slowly down the line, examining each one. This, he said, stopping at a human-made rifle. And this. He pointed to a heavy pistol of similar design. They're Earth weapons from 50 years ago, said Commander Zolar. Are you sure they still function? Jerry picked up the rifle, checking it with practiced hands. Yes, they'll work. He looked at Dr. Miller. You remember how to use one of these? Dr. Miller nodded grimly. It's not something you forget. From the doorway, Klivak watched with his friends. They had followed despite being told to go to the shelters. Now they watched as the two humans transformed before their eyes. Gone was the gentle gardener who cared tenderly for delicate flowers. Gone was the thoughtful professor who spoke with passion about psychology. In their places stood two predators moving with purpose and focus. They look different, whispered Sholpaz. They are different, replied Klivak. This is what they were trying to explain to us. Commander Zolar gathered his security team and Dr. Miller laid out a plan. The Academy had one small transport vessel that could reach the research outpost quickly. We'll need a distraction, Jerry explained to the security team. The pirates will expect a frontal assault. We won't give them that. The aliens watched, in fascination as the two humans quickly developed tactics based on the limited resources available. They spoke a shorthand that seemed instinctual, plotting approaches and fallbacks with minimal discussion. The three of us are coming too, Klivak suddenly announced. Everyone turned to look at the three students. Absolutely not, said Dr. Miller. This is too dangerous. I can see in multiple light spectrums, Klivak argued. Mutep can squeeze through ventilation systems in gas form, and Sholpaz can refract light to create temporary blindness. We have skills that could help. Jerry and Dr. Miller exchanged looks. They're not wrong, Jerry said quietly, and we need every advantage. Dr. Miller looked torn. This isn't a classroom. People will die. People are already going to die if we don't act, Jerry replied. At least this way, maybe fewer will. Commander Zolar interrupted. The decision is mine, and I say they come, but only as support, not combatants. They stay back and follow orders exactly. An hour later, they approached Research Outpost 7 in the Academy's small transport. The outpost was a circular structure attached to an asteroid, with docking, ports for small ships. 3 pirate vessels were visible, attached to different parts of the structure. Remember the plan, Jerry said as they prepared to dock. Commander Zolar's team creates a distraction at the main entrance. The students help us find another way in and locate the hostages. We avoid killing if possible, but... He paused, his eyes meeting Dr. Miller's. But we do what we have to do, Dr. Miller finished. As they docked, Klivak noticed the humans checking their weapons one last time. Their movements were practiced, efficient. Their eyes held a focus that seemed to look through walls. They're already in it, Klivak whispered to his friends. The battle trance we read about. Will they be okay? Sholpaz asked, her crystalline form dimming with concern. Klivak watched the humans move toward the airlock, their postures changing subtly to something more predatory. I don't know, he admitted. But I think we're about to see firsthand why. Humans need kill limits. The airlock opened and the rescue mission began. The rescue team split up as planned. Commander Zolar led his security officers toward the main entrance of the research outpost, creating a diversion. Meanwhile, Jerry, Dr. Miller, and the 3 alien students moved quietly through a maintenance tunnel that Mutep had discovered. Stay behind us, Jerry whispered to the students. If we tell you to run, you run. No arguments. Klivak nodded. All 6 of his eyes adjusted to see in the dim light. Beside him, Sholpaz's crystalline form was dimmed to nearly black, and Mutep had condensed his gaseous body to its smallest possible size. They reached a junction in the tunnel. Klivak peered around the corner with 3 of his eyes. 2 pirates ahead, he whispered, armed with plasma weapons. Jerry and Dr. Miller exchanged a look. Without speaking, they seemed to agree on a plan. Dr. Miller moved left, while Jerry went right. What happened next happened so quickly that the alien students barely registered it. The two humans moved with a speed and precision that seemed impossible. Before the pirates could react, they were unconscious on the floor. "No killing," Dr. Miller said quietly. "Not yet." Jerry nodded, his face set in grim lines. "Let's find the hostages." Klevak used his multiple eyes to scan different sections of the outpost simultaneously. Heat signatures in the main research lab. 12 smaller forms surrounded by 5 larger ones. Must be the researchers and their captors. They moved toward the lab, careful to avoid detection. From the front of the outpost, they could hear the sounds of Commander Zolar's distraction working. Alarms blaring, pirates shouting orders. Outside the research lab, Jerry stopped them. "Miller, take the students and circle around to the emergency. Exit. I'll create a distraction here. When the pirates focus on me, get the researchers out." "That's too dangerous," Dr. Miller argued. "You can't face 5 armed pirates alone." Jerry checked his weapon. "I'm not planning to face them all at once. Just get the researchers to safety." Before they could argue further, the comm system crackled. A voice, likely the pirate leader, spoke. "Attention, Academy forces. We know you're trying to rescue your people. Don't bother. We're prepared to kill all hostages if you don't withdraw immediately. You have 5 minutes." Jerry's expression hardened. "Change of plan. We don't have time for subtlety now." He looked at the alien students. "Sholpaz, can you create that light refraction you mentioned? Blind everyone in the room temporarily?" The crystalline alien vibrated nervously. "Yes, but I can't control who it affects. You'll be blinded too." "We'll close our eyes," Dr. Miller said. "Klevak, you guide us with your infrared vision." "Mutep," Jerry continued, "can you seep under the door and release some kind of gas?" To confuse them further. The gaseous alien swirled thoughtfully. "I can release a mild sedative compound. Not enough to knock them out, but enough to slow their reactions." Jerry nodded. "Good. Here's what we do." They moved into position. Jerry and Dr. Miller stood on either side of the main door, weapons ready. Klevak positioned himself behind them, 3 eyes closed to protect from the flash, 3 others using different visual spectrums to see through walls. Mutep thinned his form and slipped under the door. Inside the lab, the pirates were growing nervous. The leader paced back and forth, his weapon pointed casually at the kneeling researchers. "If your rescuers aren't smart enough to retreat," he told the terrified scientists, "you'll die knowing it was their fault." A thin green mist began to seep into the room, Mutep's sedative compound. The pirates didn't notice at first, but soon their movements became slightly sluggish. "Now," Jerry whispered. Sholpaz focused her crystalline body, vibrating at a precise frequency. Suddenly, a blinding flash of refracted light erupted through the lab's windows. Jerry kicked the door open. He and Dr. Miller moved in, eyes closed, guided by Klevak's directions. "Left pirate at your 2 o'clock, Jerry," Klevak called. "Miller, 3 hostiles directly ahead, staggered formation." What followed was unlike anything the alien students had ever witnessed. Even half-blind and outnumbered, the 2 humans moved. With a coordination that seemed impossible. They didn't kill, using precise strikes to disarm and incapacitate instead. 4 pirates went down in seconds. The 5th, the leader, managed to grab one of the researchers, a small Centaurian, and hold a weapon to her head. "Stop or she dies," he shouted. Jerry and Dr. Miller froze. The room fell silent except for the sound of heavy breathing. "Let her go," Jerry said, his voice deadly calm. "This doesn't have to end with anyone dying," the pirate leader laughed. "I'm walking out of here with this hostage. Try to stop me and her blood is on your hands." Dr. Miller lowered his weapon slightly. "You're making a mistake. We're trying to help you." "Help me?" The pirate sneered. "How's that?" "Because if you kill her," Dr. Miller said quietly, "there will be nothing stopping us from reaching our kill limits today." The pirate's expression faltered slightly. "What are you talking about?" "We're human," Jerry explained, his voice still unnervingly calm. "Do you know what that means? It means we're holding back right now. It means we could have killed all of you already, but we chose not to." Klevak watched from the doorway, understanding flooding through him. This was what they had been studying all semester, humans choosing restraint not from weakness, but from strength. The pirate looked back and forth between the two humans, noticing perhaps for the first time the predatory focus in their eyes. "The kill limit exists for your protection, not ours," Dr. Miller continued. "Lower your weapon and you get to live. Harm that researcher and you'll never leave this room." Something in his tone must have convinced the pirate. Slowly he lowered his weapon. "Smart choice," Jerry said, moving forward to restrain him. Within minutes, all the pirates were secured and the researchers were safe. Commander Zolar's team reported similar success at the front of the outpost. In total, 17 pirates had been captured, and none of the rescuers or hostages were seriously harmed. Later, back at the academy, Klivak, Sholpaz, and Mutep sat with Dr. Miller in the campus medical center. Jerry was in another room, undergoing a psychological evaluation. "Will he be okay?" Sholpaz asked. "He didn't exceed his kill limit, but he came close to that state of mind," Dr. Miller finished for her. "Yes, he'll be fine. We both will. That's the point of what we've been teaching you all semester. Humans can access our predatory nature when necessary, but we've learned how to come back from it." A day later, Dr. Miller's class met as usual. The students were buzzing with excitement about the rescue mission. Jerry Cooper sat at the back of the classroom, invited as a special guest. "Yesterday," Dr. Miller began, "some of you witnessed firsthand what we've been studying theoretically. Humans accessing our combat capabilities and then voluntarily standing down." Klivak raised 3 of his arms. "Professor, I think I finally understand. The kill limit isn't about humans becoming ineffective in combat. It's about preserving your humanity." Dr. Miller smiled. "Exactly. Any species can learn to kill. The challenge is learning when not to kill and how to come back to yourself afterward." At the end of the semester, Klivak returned to Arcturus to become a xenobiologist. His first action was to recommend psychological monitoring for Arcturian security forces, not because they would ever match humans as warriors, but because he had learned the importance of protecting one's soul in a dangerous galaxy. And sometimes, on quiet evenings, he would visit the earth garden he had planted, with its beautiful roses that evolved to have both thorns and blossoms, much like the humans who had taught him that true strength lies not in the capacity for violence, but in the choice to seek peace instead.